why don't I jump in and do a live stream? We can talk about the tariffs. We can talk about all the various other things that are going on, and we can talk about this. One of the things when you have a tea seller, this is something that if you press them, if you press the tea seller, if you say to them, "What do you do with the powder at the bottom of the bag?" That is an issue. Now here you can see this is about this much, and down here is the powder at the bottom of the bag. Now, we are technically in spring, but I talked to my parents in Southern Ontario today, and my parents in Southern Ontario are saying it's snowing right now. It's still snowing in various places. And so here you can see I'm actually wearing pants today because it's still a little chilly. Springtime has not quite arrived yet. But what do we do, the tea sellers, with this stuff right here? So you can see right here, it is the powder. So you can see here that it is like the powder at the bottom of the bag. And what do I do with the powder at the bottom of the bag? I will basically leave it and then drink it myself. If it's too much, then depends on the tea, of course. But if there's too much tea powder, then sometimes it just gets thrown away. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is there anything else we can do with the tea powder? Is there anything else we could do with the tea powder? What are your suggestions? Anybody out there? If you're listening to this live or you listen to this in the future, what are your suggestions about unable to hear the audio? Really? Well, I've been talking to myself for a while then. Let's see here. Oh, that's why. Thank you very much for telling me. I did not have the transmitter on for some strange reason. Anyways, does that work now? Does that work, the audio? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for people joining in and watching me go like that for a minute or two. I appreciate it greatly. But there we go. Yes, okay, there we go. So what I was saying, the whole time, the last 2 minutes, going like, here, you know what? I think I'm going to go out because I usually save these and people like listening to them. So what I'm going to do is for the Instagram, I am going to go out and restart the live stream so that people can listen to the start. Sorry, I'm going to go out and I'm going to start again. So anyways, the story is I forgot to turn on the transmitter and so we're just going to jump in and do start the live stream again here. There we go. Okay, we're ready to go. All right, so we're starting again because I forgot to turn on the transmitter. All these fancy things. Anyways, what are we doing today? Tariffs. We're going to talk about tariffs again, and we're going to talk about, well, this, which is a beautiful tea, and hopefully everybody will be able to hear me this time. But you can see, what do you do with the tea powder at the bottom of the bag? Now, what this is, I just got in a big old shipment of 3 teas that will be back on the site. There's the Snow Pick Pear Mountain that's got a refill. There's the the Charcoal Roast Black Pear Mountain, and then there is a bunch more of the. I got a bunch more. Well, not all that much more, because in the summertime it doesn't really sell. But the Charcoal Roast Pear Mountain. But I got those 3 teas, so I'll be adding them to the site probably this weekend. I probably won't give them 10% off because they've been up on the site for a while, but they are back. And I thought, you know what? I got to drink this tea anyways, so I might as well enjoy it. Talk to the wonderful tea people all over the world, if they show up, and if they are amazing people who, for example, listen to 2 minutes of me talking with no audio. So thank you very much for the people who told me that the audio was broken there. But what do you guys think with the tea? So what happens is you get a big tea shipment in. There's usually like one big old bag. A lot of the people that I buy tea from, they know that there's going to be the tea powder at the bottom, so they actually give extra. So they give like 600 grams or 500 grams of extra tea, because they know that as the things moved around, even the oolongs, they sort of the powder gets to the bottom, and that adds up. It adds up to like literal money, right? It's literal money. So it adds up to literal money. And so what they usually do, like I said, is they add extras. But usually I get sort of this tea powder, right? Now I don't know what maybe you guys can tell me, what do other tea sellers, I don't ask, but I don't really talk to other tea sellers actually. But what do they do? I mean, do your tea packages, when you buy tea from other places, do they have like a bunch of like tea powder at the bottom of their bags? In general, what we do here is we shift it out, right? So we have various things and we shift it out. And I just want to double. Yep, everything's working there. We shift it out, and then we have the powder, and we put the powder aside. We don't put it in the bags with the tea. Now, sometimes there's going to be powder at the bottom of the bag. Like I said, when you have a bag of tea, it moves around in shipping or whatever it is, you get powder at the bottom. But what do you guys think I should do with the powdered tea? Like, so for example, like this, this is like this much powdered tea, right? And some of it is, I haven't gone through this really and really sifted it out. There's some tea that will be salvageable from this, but in like, this is like maybe 100 to 150 grams, maybe even more, a little bit more of powder, right? A powder. Now, what we usually do is we keep it, we drink it ourselves, or like I've got a shelf, little corner of a shelf with like tea powder on it. I don't know, what am I supposed to do with it? Because the tea is so beautiful, it's hard for me to just like throw it away. Eventually, it does usually get thrown away. Sometimes, if the tea is not that expensive, like you can put tea, for example, under the sink. Like if you got leftover tea powder, you can put it under the sink, and it sucks up all the bad smells, and it sucks up all the under the sink stuff. And it actually works pretty well. Some people use it as pillows. But anyways, if you're listening to this now, or you're listening to this in the future, what do you think I should do with the tea powder other than drink it occasionally? Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I did a really quick steep with that. And the reason I did a really quick steep was because it's kind of tea powdery. And so when you got the tea powder, when you actually have to brew the tea powder that's at the bottom of the bags, you actually have to treat it sort of like pour, like flash steeps. Oh, hey, how's it going? Can they be used in desserts? I assume so. I assume you could sprinkle it on desserts, right? I mean, I have a house with 2 little boys, so usually desserts are more. So I don't know whether they would appreciate a little bit of powdered tea on their dessert, but I don't know. Maybe I could. I don't know. Now, this is the charcoal roast black, and I just got this in, and I don't drink it very often because I just forget how good it is. But somebody who is a connoisseur of black teas ranked this as one of their top 3 black teas. And I realized I'd run out of it a little while ago. In the Discord, people have been asking about it too. There's a couple of people that asked about the charcoal roast Pear Mountain Black. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a bunch. Now, one of the reasons why I'm also I bought a bunch of this tea, it doesn't sell very well. It sells, but it doesn't sell that well. It's an expensive tea. It's a very expensive black tea. And one of the reasons why I in the past, I had gotten it a couple times in the past, but then I didn't get it again for a while, was because it just didn't sell very well. And back when I first started out, the people that were buying tea might not have tried it, and the people like this is an expert level tea. This is a specialty, and it's unique. It's absolutely unique. There's nothing like this tea. That the taste notes would be butter covered red cherries dipped in chocolate and aged in a cherry wood cask. I mean, that's basically what we're looking at when you're looking at this tea. And when you're looking at a black tea, that's not normal, right? When you're looking at a black tea, that's not normal. And I've been up on the mountain when my buddy is making this tea, and he makes this tea, and the guys who are doing it, right? So the guys who make the tea, they're itinerant workers. They travel around. I mean, they're not the most refined people. And they're like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he making black tea out of this stuff? He should make oolong. You can sell it for more money. But my buddy has ideas, right? Up on Pear Mountain. He's got ideas. And so he does various different kinds of teas because he this is what I think. I think he gets kind of bored of just high mountain oolongs. He's bored of it, understandably. And so he makes these other teas. And you can see the color on this tea. Like when I say, cherry wood, aged, smoked, blah, 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 blah. That's what you're looking at. Like that's really what it is, the color of this and the taste of this. And he makes this tea, and the guys complain. They're like, why is he doing this when he makes this beautiful tea? But anyways, why am I buying this tea? Why did I buy more of it? A couple of people mentioned it. But also, tariffs. Now, what's going to happen with the tariffs? Well, liquidity, stimmies, money printing. So that's what's going to happen with the tariffs. And what's going to happen is Taiwan has already said it. For example, Taiwan has already said we're going to be printing a bunch of money to help out our industry for the tariffs. So they get hit with tariffs. The Taiwanese government said we're going to print money. And so all over the world, all these governments are going to start printing money. There's just going to be money printing. And there's going to be stimmy checks and all sorts of various things that go on. And when that happens, we're going to get another blast of inflation. So another blast of inflation. And I have a family, so I'm really trying hard to get ready for the next blast of inflation. We bought a little bit extra food, but we buy sort of locally here, so it's not a big deal. But if I've got a little bit of extra money, it's really tough because what are you going to do? Put it in cash? You're going to get that inflated away, right? You're just going to get your cash inflated away. Right now, the interest rates are no good. You can go out and do some crazy crap with Bitcoin, something like that. But no, that's none of the things that I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is, if I got a little bit extra money, I'm going to invest it into tea. Now, why did I buy a bunch of this tea? This tea is only going to get better with age. It's only going to get better with age. And it is going to get, I can store it here and people can buy it as it ages. But if, inflation for whatever reasons gets out of control and our costs go up, then I can slowly raise the cost of this tea. I can slowly sell it, and it can be an inflation hedge for me and my family going forward. And so I've been thinking about some of these things. Like I bought a bunch of the 1970s oolong, and I've been putting off buying some of the other teas, but I've been buying some of the teas that age really well and that I know will keep their value into the future, just because of what's coming next. Now, obviously, the really good news is, for Taiwan anyways, there are no tariffs. You don't have to worry about tariffs. My guess is they're going to take away the de minima. They're going to take away the $800 thing quietly while everybody's happy. But we're keeping track of all that stuff. But right now, don't have to do it. One of the reasons why I'm doing a live stream right now actually is because I have a little bit of extra time. There's the big sale right on the 20th last month. And then I had to refill the site. So I had to pack tea, like inventory. And then I did the green tea sale last weekend. And then and then everybody was like, oh, the tariffs. And then everybody had all these wonderful people made all these orders. So I have been absolutely blown away by the amount of work I've had to do. But starting yesterday, it's quieted down. And so people are not rushing to buy teas. And so I've got a little bit extra time. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I jump on a live stream? Because I absolutely love talking to people out there and talking about tea and drinking the tea on a, as you can see behind me, the mountains have disappeared. It's springtime, rainy, sort of humidity cool today. I love the hack of tea as well. I didn't really talk about it, but I bought all the hack of teas again. I've got the oranges and the lemons and the pomelos, and they're all back, except I literally haven't had time, not even like 10 minutes. Like I haven't even gone through the inventory and just like counted what I have before I print out the stuff to put them in the bags and everything. I've got them, and they'll be back on site. So all three will be back on the site in the next little while. So why don't we just say not this weekend, but the next weekend, and they'll be 10% off. So I will, this next week, I'll package them all up. I'll do them all up, and then they'll be ready for next, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. Also, the next Sunday will be the, if everything goes according to plan, of course, will be the teapots finally. Because like I said, with the tariffs on hold for 90 days, I've got some breathing room where I don't have to pack for 12, 14, sometimes 15 hours a day, which no complaints. Thank you everybody so much for helping out my family and the beautiful tea sellers, or the agrochemical free tea sellers here in Taiwan. So funny. It's I tell my children, I say, when you realize what I was able to do by myself, you're going to be so impressed by me when you're older. But hopefully I will at some point get some help. Not to say my family doesn't help me, but I have no external helpers. It's a lot of work, but that's okay. No complaints. Although the only thing I do for the website to update it is the other day I went on and that when you get on the website, it says it used to say, see our fresh 2024 teas. And I was like, oh no, 2024. So I changed it to 2025. But that's about all I do, doing my SEO on the website, which is kind of dumb because I should improve it. But that's okay. Any 50 milliliter teapots, there's be some maybe 70. I think there's a couple smaller ones that are like this, but they're not the round teapots. They're sort of tall with the spout here and the thing here. But they won't be, I don't think anything will be 50, because my buddy, he's like 50, because every time you make a teapot, the labor is basically the same. The costs are nothing. Remember, these are teapots made from the dirt, like literally dirt, right? So that there's the dirt under the, like they sift the dirt and they make it. So the costs are like labor, but very, very small. But the costs are basically the time of making the teapot. So to make a 50 milliliter teapot or make a 150 milliliter teapot or a 500 milliliter teapot, the labor is basically the same. And so it's really tough for me to get the really small ones. I have to say, come on, give me the small ones, please. And they're usually around 100 to 120 milliliters. But I think there were a couple that were smaller. So I'll see. I think there might be some smaller ones. Your GABA green was one of the best I've ever had. Your selection is just phenomenal. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. People have been asking me about the GABA green. I haven't. So last year the GABA green was really like. Anyways, I won't get into it, but maybe I'll try and bring it in again. I can get a sample of it perhaps and see, because I know a lot of people really like the GABA green. And just to recap so far, this here, of course, is the charcoal roast Pear Mountain Black. If you guys have a good idea what to do with the with the tea powder that's at the bottom of every bag, please let me know, right? Give me some ideas. Throw it out there. Throw it in the comments. Write me an email, because I don't really know what to do with the tea powder, because I'm getting larger and larger bags of tea powder. I've got this. There was the long yen flowers. You remember the dragon's eye flowers, and they were so powdery. I have a bag it's probably like almost a kilogram of just like powder from that huge bag of the dragon's eye flower, and I have no idea what to do with it because it's just too powerful. Like you open it up and you smell it and you just like it's just this blast of floral. Anyways, maybe I should auction it off starting at like 50 cents or something like that. Infuse it for kombucha. Yeah, maybe kombucha. I don't make it myself. It's kind of hard to make it in such a hot, humid area. Could put them in satchels for tea bag brewing. Yes, yeah, for sure. I mean, you could definitely do tea bags with it, but I mean, I'd have to give it away for free, right? I can't be. What do you? I can't be doing tea bags. I can't do it. But yeah, that's an option. Thing is, something like this, like when you've got this beautiful tea, if you got like sort of this much of tea powder, it's tough. It's tough. I don't want to throw it away. That's not an option for me. But I don't know if you've. I was asking too about like what do other tea sellers do? We sift out our tea powder. I wonder if other sellers just put it in their bags and anyways, and also of course, even the bags that I have, there's always going to be tea powder in the bottom, just because tea powder manifests as soon as you move tea, right? It just sort of manifests. That's what happens when you move tea around. So there'll always be tea powder in the tea bags, but we certainly don't do it too much. And the problem is with tea powder, it's really hard to brew. Like, for example, with this, the first 2 steeps of this tea powder was like, wow, amazing. And now it's dropped off really, really fast, as is the nature of tea powder, right? You don't steep matcha twice, do you? You don't go, oh, I'm disappointed this matcha didn't last for 5 steeps like the high mountain oolongs. Well, no, you don't do that. You don't do that with tea powder. But anyways, yeah, so snow pick Pear Mountain, charcoal roast Pear Mountain Black, and the spring charcoal roast Pear Mountain Oolong. Those are, I guess I can just throw them back in stock right now, actually. But I got a bunch of them in. And I was talking earlier, if you're interested, about how I'm hedging my bets for all of the money printing that's about to happen by buying teas that will age well. And, I think that's a pretty decent investment for somebody like me. All right. I don't know. Anybody have any other ideas to deal with the coming inflation? But I'm gonna stock up on teas that'll age, and we'll always have a market. And yeah. Again, I've got a little bit of extra time right now because the tariffs didn't go through, and so sort of the orders have slowed down back to a little bit below average after about 3 or 4 weeks of being way above average. And so I've got a little bit of time for a live stream right now. But any questions about anything that we've covered so far? Any questions about what's coming up? So let's see what's coming up in the next little while. Well, let's talk about the weather. You can see behind me. You see the mountains there? It has been cold, exceptionally cold, but not like frost cold, just like cold and foggy, wet, not very warm. I wouldn't say the weather has been terrible. It's not like this winter, the weather was terrible, pouring rain and then cold, then hot, then cold. Like it was just awful for tea in the wintertime. like the wintertime picking, November, December. But so far this year, the springtime has been, everybody's waiting. Everybody's waiting to see what happens in the next 2 weeks. So it hasn't been terrible. It hasn't been perfect. But what everybody is waiting for is dry, warm weather with cool nights. And what we've been getting is sort of cloudy, slight rain, not torrential rain, but a little bit, you'd argue a little bit too much rain. Really good for the weeds, right? So like my poor buddy, I've got a friend of mine who does in Raceway does organic farming, right? And he, in the lower elevations, the weeds are just like, this is the weather for weeds, the springtime. And so he recently cut back his tea plants so that they get fresh growth. What's happened is all the weeds from below went boop, and now the tea is here, and all the flowers for the weeds are like here. And so he's actually got to come through with his, he does it with machines, right? And he's got to come through and cut the tops of the weeds off. He probably has already done it. I was there a week ago, and he's got to cut the tops of the weeds off so that they, when he actually comes through to pick the tea, then it's not all like weed flour and little seeds from the weeds and things like that. So it's great for weeds, and it's not terrible for the tea plants, but we really need some more sun. We need sunny, warm days with coolish nights, and we're waiting for that. So what's coming? I've got to go to Alishan, Mingjian. I got to go to basically the other side of the island and see how they're doing it and try their fresh teas and buy their fresh teas. But it's probably not going to happen until like late April. Does this mean the spring harvest will be late? Absolutely. The spring harvest is going to be late this year. Now, I don't think it's going to be too late. Like, it's not going to be like the end of May late. But I just talked to my buddy on Pear Mountain. He's saying that the spring pick for him will be mid to late May, right? So mid to late May for him. And so that's a little bit late. Usually it's early May. So it's going to be pushed back by about 2 weeks is my guess. Now, what are we at today? Today is the 11th. So usually in the higher elevations, in the mid elevations, right? So in the springtime, it starts with the lower elevations and then goes to the higher elevations. So the picking starts in like Mingjian right around now, then goes to Alishan, then goes to Pear Mountain. In the wintertime, it's the opposite, right? They start October in the high mountains, and then November in Alishan, and then maybe December late in the lower elevations. And so usually it's early May in the higher elevations, middle of April in Alishan, places like that, 15 to 18. And then in Mingjian, in the lower elevations, you're looking at early April. Not this year, right? I was down in Luya Taidong. Oh, damn thumbs, stupid things. Let's see if I can do the heart. There you go. It gives me the hearts. I don't think I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it for YouTube, just because. Why not? Does this one do anything? No, probably not. That one was canceled a couple of years ago, right? Anyways, we got the thumbs and the hearts and different things for the YouTube. I'm just going to keep it. And what you're looking at for this year is starting now lower elevations. I was in Luya Taidong. I was going to say that Luya Taidong, and I was asking them when they think they're gonna pick. And this is so interesting, right? Because this is something too that's going to impact this springtime tea. In Lalashan, for example, in Taidong, in sort of this side of the island, right? Sort of the north, this side of the island. Last year, there was a bunch of typhoons, and the typhoons mess up the tea plants. They mess up the tea plants. And when I say they mess up the tea plants, they shake them around. And when they shake around the tea plants get beaten up. And when I say beaten up, I mean literally beaten up, right? I tried the snow mist from La Lachan. I tried their wintertime tea after the typhoons. And I was saying to my buddy, I was saying like, wow, it's an amazing experience. I didn't buy the tea, and I didn't buy the tea because the upfront of the tea was wonderful, beautiful. But then in the back end, you could taste the bruising. And this is going to sound woo-woo, right? But the more we study, the science, the more we get into this type of stuff, it's all connected. It's all getting closer and closer together. But the tea plants, it tasted like the tea plant was going, I'm okay, I'm fine. And then in the back end, it was saying, I'm injured, I'm hurt. The up front of the tea was beautiful. The back end was not so good. Anyways, what's the point? The point is that this springtime is really touch and go, especially on this side of the island, because the tea plants were shook by the typhoons, like really shook 2 or 3 times by the typhoons. And in Luye, they were saying, we're not going to pick early. We're going to pick really slow. We're going to gently pick the tea plants, probably near the end of April, because of the typhoons, because they were injured by the winds in the typhoon, and they're not quite there. They're not quite ready. They're injured. They got beaten up by the typhoons, and they were talking about and to their tea plants like they were people, right? And this is something that you can do with the top of the top of the top organic tea farmers, right? And in general, tea farmers, I'm sure there's some that are still conventional that would be this way. But if you're an organic tea farmer, you're being self-selected for caring about this stuff a lot more. And so I was amazed at the consistency in the language between my friend up on La Lachan in the north of Taipei and the Snow Mist tea master, and the tea master down in Luye Taidong, which is like opposite ends of the island. One is in the most beautiful mountain range, and the other one is like in the flat plains, of the valley. And what they have in common, of course, is that they're organic farmers and they're real. They're beautiful, real people. And so I was amazed at their consistency in language. But that was just a question about, does this mean the spring harvest will be late? And I just talked for a very long, long time about very ethereal things. Yes, the answer, one word. Yes, it will be late. And it's touch and go. It's touch and go. So if we get weather like this up until mid to late April, this springtime tea it'll be wet, thick, vegetal, a little bit bruised, not too strong. But if we get a really beautiful batch of weather starting right now, like starting literally today, tomorrow, if we get that beautiful, the weather that would just be like this, the weather, right? Then we're going to have a harvest that's just going to be amazing, right? An amazing harvest. It was doing that for the YouTube. If you want to just go back to 33 minutes and 35 seconds, and you'll be able to get the fireworks show. If you're watching this on Instagram, go to the YouTube and watch it. I just got to get past the first couple minutes because I had to restart this one because I forgot to turn on the transmitter for the sound. But anyways, live stream, that's just what you're going to get with live streams. And I've been happy with the hey man, how's it going? I've been happy with the B-roll sort of stuff over here. It's worked really well with the sound. I can understand why all the streamers use the fancy microphones. It works really well. But just to recap again, snow pick Pear Mountain, charcoal roast Pear Mountain, both the black and the oolong are back in stock. I'll have them back in stock this weekend. Also, I just put in a big order for more of the Magnolia Orchid Oolong and the Bird Planted Red. So the Magnolia Oolong and the Bird Planted Red, those will be back on the site eventually. So when they come, they'll probably come next week sometime. So they'll be back on the tea. Audio and video, great. Yeah. Oh no, it was just the start. It was just the start. I boomered it. I turned on the microphones, but I forgot to turn on the receiver. So the way this works is you get two of these guys, they connect to a receiver, and then you have to hook the receiver to your phone. And I just forgot to turn on the receiver. And if anybody has ideas for tea powder, what should I do with the tea powder? Maybe I should auction the tea powder off for charity. It's a lot of extra work. It's a lot of extra work. And I'd have to pick the right charity. But yeah, that might work. Bird planted trees similar to Ruby 18? No, the bird planted red would be a Chin Chin family tea that was planted. Nobody planted it; just grew in the forests around on the Shanlishi mountainside, just in the forests around the tea garden. And so they're of indeterminate age, of indeterminate stock, but they 10 years ago they went and picked a bunch of them and made a beautiful black tea. But that's the bird planted red. Make it incense. That sounds like even more work than auctioning it off for charity. What's a tea powder? This. So this is the charcoal roast black. You can see here. That is the tea powder. And I just was doing a humble brag, saying, "What do other tea vendors do?" But I don't actually put this tea powder in the bags when I ship them out. But here you can see this is some of the tea powder. And you can see how much there is. Now it's pretty light. I'd say I can still salvage. I haven't gone through this and really picked through it, but I can still salvage some of this. But I'm losing maybe, I don't know, 100, 150 grams of the charcoal roast black and Pear Mountain charcoal roast black. And so I'm just thinking of I don't want to throw it out, right? So I'm just thinking of what I can do with it, because it's so hard to brew, like the tea powder, it's really hard to brew. But maybe if somebody out there makes incense out of tea powder, make milk tea. Yes. Well, that is where a lot of it goes. That is where a lot of it goes. And I've talked about this in the past, but I made a meme about it once, and I was attacked by all of these very stereotypical caricatures of people on the internet. Anyways, won't get into that. But I oftentimes give it to my wife, and she boils the heck out of it and makes the most amazing milk tea you can possibly imagine. Just amazing stuff. Just, it's so good. But I can't put it on Tea Nerd Instagram, or I'd be actually, no, that doesn't happen anymore. It used to. There's a couple times I've been attacked by not following I put boiling water on a green tea, things like that. But it's been many years. I think it's been many years since that has happened to me, that I've been attacked on the internet. I also found out where those people hang out, and I stayed away from those places on the internet. But I mean, it's pretty hard for anybody to attack me when it comes to Taiwanese tea at this point. Yes, so that's what I'll probably do. The problem is that, and look, this is the tea powder. It's just such a pain compared to normal tea to brew it. But if you boil it, I guess it works okay. The green stuff, right? What do you do with the green tea powder? For example, I'm getting in a bunch of the Snow Pick Pear Mountain, and that is a really delicate tea. Even though it's ball rolled, there's huge amounts of tea powder that come with that tea. And if anybody bought it, you probably know what I'm talking about, because if you've had it in the past, I mean, I sift out the tea powder. By the time it gets to you, there's some tea powder in there. Put it in satchels and rare items sell it. Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. That hurts me. That hurts me. I don't think it's right to do that. Because it's, I guess I could sell it for cheap. But again, it'd be so much work. There's a lot of upscale milk tea franchises from China popping up in New York City. It's expensive too. Oh yeah. Oh, well, are you sure they're from China? They might be from Taiwan. So Taiwanese milk tea that you get in one at like the milk tea shops, they sell for about, at the upper end, maybe 250 US, right? And that's like real milk, honey is a sweetener, high quality teas. Well, as much as you can get high quality teas. And so I bet you in North America that would be selling for like $15 with the little balls in it too. $15, $20 for one of those. And I'm sure there's a bunch of them. I'm sure there's a bunch of them popping up because their cost margin, how much money they make off that stuff, is pretty high, right? It's pretty high. How much money they make off of that, for sure. Money washing, yeah, it could be. For sure, it's a cash business. Yes, like, the Chaggy Wuxian. Are those the names of the companies? If you can't sell, you got to drink. Well, that's it. And I've got these little bags of tea powder of really high quality, beautiful teas sitting around, and I'm looking at it like, what do I do with you? I can't throw you out. Can't happen. In Seattle, a milk tea can set you back $10. Yes, I bet. So that would be about $10 would be about 300 Taiwanese dollars. And if you're paying more than 70 or 80 Taiwanese dollars for a milk tea here, then you're like, what are you doing? Like, how are you making that? Are you is that competition tea you're making your milk tea out of? And I'm sure it's $10, but like the really, really high quality stuff with real milk, honey sweetener, with the, like the different kinds of the genju or the pearls in the bottom, I bet you $15, $20 easy in the States. Well, maybe not in a small town in the Midwest, but in New York City, $15, $20 easy. You need to target large upscale restaurants and have their executive charge incorporate into their menus. And yes, except I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure somebody has in the chat, worked in those types of restaurants. I remember one of the funniest things I heard, well, funny, but there was they used to have a back patting restaurant awards thing. And so every year they would have all these expensive restaurants giving them each other rewards. Very masturbatory. But they stopped doing it. And the reason they stopped doing it was because, it would take about 6 months between them judging the restaurants, doing the meals, making sure everything was okay, getting the trophy, setting up the place. And in that 6-month time, a huge percentage of the restaurants were going out of business between them winning the award and then, the award ceremony where they get the award. So huge amounts of these businesses would be going out of business. So nobody could actually visit them. And, it's the nature of just the nature of sort of the high scale, restaurant industry. It's a brutal industry, because fashionable things get fashionable and then they don't. And cold brew and then filter, that's actually pretty good. So in the summertime, especially with the greener teas, that would be great. That would work really, really well. Because it wouldn't take too much of the tea powder to get you some flavor in your cold brew. That's for sure. That's actually Well, Stacy, that's a great idea. Thank you for that. That's an amazing idea because you know, that'll be great. I remember my boys when they were younger, they would when they were doing soccer, uh, playing soccer in the summertime. It was like our secret enhancing, enhancing thing where they I would do cold brew, really high quality organic oolongs, and they come off, they'd be pouring sweat, right? 30, 35 degrees, 100% humidity. I'd give them these things, and they'd be like, they go and play soccer again. They loved it. Uh, you know, just the right amount of healthy caffeine for little kids. Perfect when they exercise. Molly's from Shenzhen, and they're making a killing. I guess there's different meanings for the word Molly, and I guess in New York City that would be. I'll have to look up, see what the mascot is. Relatively opium war of them to use that name. Good for them. But I bet they are. I bet they're making a killing. I know a guy. Yeah. I know of a seller here that targets restaurants and sells their mediocre tea at absurd prices. Such a ripoff whenever I see it on a menu. And if you ask them about it and you really sat down, they would probably tell you that it's not worth the amount of hassle and whining and dining and all the different things, because people are not, even if people order that tea all the time, they're only serving it like 5 grams at a time. And anyways, it's a really, really, really tough business to be in. It's really, really, really tough. Can you do more than one steep with a cold brew? Well, the problem with your question is I need more information. Is it tea powder? No way. Is it leaves? Yeah, you could probably, pour it out, refill it, stick it in the fridge. So the first time you do it, 24 hours, pour it out, drink that, refill it, stick it in for 48 hours, and you probably get a second steep out of it, no problem. And what I would mean by that is you put 2 or 3 grams in a water bottle, 500 milliliters, half a liter, stick it in the fridge for 24 hours, pour it out, refill it, stick it in the fridge for 48 hours, and you probably get another one out of it. But, the second steep is not going to be quite as good as the first steep by any stretch of the imagination. But yes, I think you could do that for sure. I think you could for sure. But just what you could also do is something like if you drink a lot of that type of cold brew tea, you could do you could double the amount, right, and then shorten the time. So you could put in 5 or 6 grams for half a liter, put it in for like 6 or 7 hours, pour it out, and do it again. I don't know. I think it'd probably work out to be the same. I've experimented with that, doing it a couple times, but I think it'd probably be about the same. You wouldn't be able to push it too many steeps. I think you could just get one steep and then another steep, but you double the time, 24 hours or 12 hours, 24 hours, something like that. You'd have to experiment. Depends on the tea. But yeah, you could definitely do that. And yeah. So the fans of this tea, which is the charcoal roast Pear Mountain Black, it will be back on the site. I can probably just do it right now. I haven't packed it all up yet, but why not? And what is I came up with an even better way of describing the flavor of this. Ready? Slightly smoked, chocolate dipped cherries, brushed with butter, aged in a cherry wood cask. That's the flavor. That's the flavor of this tea. Right? Gently brushed with high quality butter. So there we go. Now with that description, I gotta add like $10 to it. But Any baked goods? Not really. I wouldn't call it baked goods. It's more like cherry cask whiskey, cherry wood cask whiskey type flavors. Not too many baked goods. It's not too baked, but with just a wisp of smoke and a light brush of butter, especially with the first steep. The first steep has got a pat of butter, but then it goes away really fast. And but I would say this: I do not recommend drinking the tea powder, mostly because when you have the tea powder, the flavor in the first and second steep, especially the first steep, well, it depends on how you steep, obviously, but the first couple steeps, it's too powerful, and it's better if you can spread it out a couple more steeps. Yeah, I definitely recommend having full leaves. but if you do buy this tea, it starts as full leaves. I promise you that. By the time it gets you, there will be some tea powder in it, no matter what happens. It manifests itself. The tea powder becomes. It just happens, even if you don't put it in the tea. I'll pay an extra $10 for the light butter. Well, that's what everybody does. I mean, I remember, I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but I've known people doing all sorts of different things. Basically, people say the people in the really high quality restaurants, they're just like, you're just paying for butter. That's it. Now you go to a high quality restaurant, and you're like, wow, this sauce is so good. Well, it's just butter, lightly flavored with various other things, but it's basically just butter. And so when you're at home, you don't cook with that much butter because it's quote unquote unhealthy. But when you go to a restaurant, that's what you're paying extra for, which I find quite hilarious. But what are you going to do? The experience of a high quality restaurant. We here in Hualien, we live a relatively sheltered and bubbled life, and I don't know. My oldest must have seen it in some sort of media somewhere. But I think when we go back to Canada this year, we'll go back in July. What he really wants to do is he wants to get a rich person meal, and so. What is a rich person meal? Oh, a big plate and a little bit of food many times. So that's what he wants. So we'll go to one of those restaurants. We'll set it up, and we'll spend I don't know what, like $100 Canadian a plate or whatever it is. We'll save up for it, and thankfully, we can probably pull that off for one time in his 12 years of life. It'll be his birthday present, his Christmas present for a couple of years, all wrapped into one. We'll go to one of those restaurants. We'll go to one of those restaurants. But there is no tea that is butter soaked right. Now, what you're doing right now is you are drifting into what I know nothing about, but I've heard of and had. I mean, I've been to the border with Tibet, and actually one time I remember I sat down with a Buddhist monk on the border with Tibet, and I was there with my father and my sister, and we shook hands, and my sister, who was, how was she, 17, 18 at the time, she shook hands with the monk, and apparently that was the wrong thing to do, right? And anyways, whatever. So you're talking about Tibetan tea, like butter tea. And I don't know, there's probably somebody in the chat who knows way more about that than me. I know nothing about the butter tea. I know nothing about the butter tea. But I remember having it, and it was a very oily, thick, salty tea that did not really taste particularly good. Although I would have loved, it was an authentic, I assume so. It's hard for me to say because I haven't had an experience like that since. But if I had it now, it would be really fun. It would be really, really fun to do it again, because I'd be able to pick out the taste notes and all that sort of stuff. Basically, cream somewhat churned with yak milk. Yes, yeah, and it was gamey. There was a gamey aspect to it. I do remember that. But I should. Let's just say it's a cold weather type of tea, and where I live right now, even though it's like a coolish day, I'm outside and I'm drinking tea and I'm sweating. This is not a tea. That is not a tea you want in this climate. You do not want that tea in this climate. That is something for sure. But in that climate, it'd be perfect. It'd be absolutely wonderful. And so that's about all I have to add to that. So the question, of course, being, there is no tea that is butter soaked, right? There is a tea that is butter soaked, literally made with butter. Well, partially churned yak milk. So yes, there is. We never heard of this. What else are you keeping from us? Who's interested in which part of that? Just being on the border with Tibet? I mean, I don't know. That's before my tea. That's before my tea life. Back when I was 24, 25, before I'd even been to Taiwan. And my first trip to China, which was, I was an extremely lucky person in the sense that I had been to a bunch of places before the bad stuff. And what do I mean by that? I'm not saying that China is a bad place right now, but we had the tyranny, right? So we had the COVID tyranny for a couple of years. And I'm sure it's very, very different. Back then it was, 2003, 2004. Everybody was optimistic. There was, it was this dividing line right there before the 2008 Olympics, where people were optimistic. Everybody was getting richer. Everybody was happier. It was safe. It was wonderful. It was an amazing time to visit through China. I was also in the Middle East in the year 2000. So right before the second Intifada, I traveled through that area. And so I was able to see these things that you can't see anymore. Anyways, whatever, but that's whatever. Butter tea is real. Any other interesting teas? Well, I can talk about Taiwanese ones, but I've already talked about them. The interesting Taiwanese teas. I don't know. Anybody out there will throw it out in the chat. Anybody else have an interesting tea that they know about? I mean, obviously you've got the sort of the Indian chai, which the least important part of the drink is the actual tea. Like that's the least important thing. Everything else is much more important. But this is what I'm talking about. Environment and the food of consumption lead to your experiences of what the taste of the tea is. Yes. Oh, you talk about sort of like you would never drink the butter tea here yet. Well, of course not, right? And one of the reasons why the higher elevation oolongs are so popular in Taiwan is that's a hot weather tea. That's a hot, humid day. You sit down with that tea. It makes you sweat a little bit, but it clears you out. It cools you down. All those different, all that different stuff. Thank you for the clean teas. My stomach appreciates your teas. Well, I'm glad. I'm super happy you enjoy them, and obviously, thank you for the support and letting me be able to do it. But it's one of those things that if you drink clean tea and you go back to drinking unclean tea, you pay for it. It hurts. It hurts. Like for me, if I drink unclean tea, I get heartburn and stomach ache and just like, it's awful. It's so terrible. And it's so easy to feel and to see. Because, fresh, clean tea, best drug out there. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. Nothing better than clean tea. Central Asia mixes green tea with cardamom shells. Yeah. Right. And, there is a problem with green tea in that it's quite bitter and astringent, although it's got all sorts of really good stuff in it. And so oftentimes you will get sort of the greener tea, especially if it's you get them with the various spices that help. And over millennia and generations and all these things, that cultures have come up with just the most amazing ways of creating medicine you drink, basically, when it comes to tea. But I think we discussed which tea would be good for me to stay warm in the winter. You chose Jade Mountain Red, and it definitely helped. Yeah, Jade Mountain Red would be good. Any of the charcoal roasted teas, but I would say Jade Mountain Red would help. The charcoal roasted teas in general, so like the Susampien teas, that's a body feel that would just warm you up. This tea is amazing. It's warming me up right now. That would be a really good one for cold weather. The Old Master Dongding, not so much, right? It's an electric roast, and it's not that good. Oh, actually, my battery's about to die. I gotta call out. It's been an hour. Anyways, my battery's about to die, so I gotta call out of this. But anyways, I gotta go. So we talked about it, and we'll do another live stream soon. Anyways, thank you all for joining in. Thank you for your support. Let's see, does it happen again? There, no. Anyways, whatever. There it is. There the hearts on YouTube. Anyways, wherever you are, I certainly hope you sleep well. Have an amazing day tomorrow or the rest of today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next live stream. Yeah, I've been at 1